When you think of weapons of war, you probably imagine steel tanks, sophisticated missiles, or elite troops armed to the teeth. But what if I told you that the strangest, even ridiculous, weapons, like roasted pigs or armies made up entirely of artists, have actually changed the course of battle? Get ready. Here are 4 of the most absurd weapons of war in history that turned out to be very effective. Imagine you're a Roman commander. In front of you is an ancient version of a tank, a war elephant. These giant elephants, with their sharp tusks and armor, could easily trample your troops. What's your solution? Not fire arrows or super spears, but pigs. Yes, you heard right. Ancient historians like Pliny the Elder recorded that the Romans had a brilliant and cruel tactic. They would coat pigs in oil, set them on fire, and then release them into the enemy's elephant ranks. Why was this effective? Apparently, elephants are extremely disturbed by the high-pitched squealing of pigs. A running pig burning and screaming in pain is enough to panic even the most trained elephant. The panicked elephant will run helter-skelter, often turning around and trampling its master's troops. Chaos. Fun fact, this tactic was so effective that Roman enemies began keeping pigs near their elephant pens just to accustom the elephants to the sound. Moving on to World War II. The Soviet Union was desperately searching for a way to destroy the superior German Panzer tanks. Their solution was one of the most controversial and tragic in military history: the Hundeminen, or anti-tank dogs. These dogs were trained by placing food under tanks. The hope was that, on the battlefield, the starving dogs would run under German tanks carrying bombs on their backs. A lever would be triggered when they touched the tank's underside, and boom! Was it effective? It worked for a while at first, but the big problem was that these dogs were trained on Soviet tanks that ran on diesel fuel. German tanks ran on gasoline. The result? In the chaos of war, dogs, confused by the difference in smell, often ran into the familiar Soviet tanks. The result was a terrible backfire and was eventually discontinued. This is perhaps the most artistic unit in the history of warfare. Meet the Ghost Army of the United States. This unit wasn't made up of combat soldiers, but 1,100 artists, architects, and sound effects experts. Their weapons weren't bullets, but rather rubber tanks and airplanes, giant speakers, and fake audio recordings. They could create the illusion of a large military division in one location, causing the Germans to move their troops there. Meanwhile, the real Allied forces could attack other, less defended locations. It's estimated that their actions saved tens of thousands of lives. And the most absurd and yet most touching. Meet Private Wojtek. In 1942, Polish soldiers found a bear cub in Iran and adopted it. Wojtek grew up with the soldiers. He drank beer, smoked cigarettes, and even learned to salute. During the brutal Battle of Monte Cassino in Italy, Wojtek's unit needed help transporting heavy boxes of cannon ammunition. Seeing his comrades working so hard, Wojtek imitated the soldiers and helped carry the ammunition. His presence was a tremendous boost to the troops. Fun fact, after the war, the emblem of his artillery unit was changed to a bear carrying a cannonball.